Today, the city of San Jose officially apologized for its racist treatment of Chinese residents. More than a century ago, the city's Chinatown was burned to the ground. KTV South Bay reporter Jesse Gary is live with more on that apology and what it means today and into the future as well. Jesse.
Andre, good evening to you. The City Council made the on-the-record official apology actually last night at its meeting. Today, a public mea culpa here at the site of the last Chinatown in San Jose. You recognize the Fairmont Hotel behind me, and this is literally a stone's throw from the old City Hall at the far end of Cesar Chavez Park over by the Marriott Hotel. Times have changed, the landscape has changed, old wounds hidden by history and progress have finally and fully been addressed.
A genuine apology for the role of the city in this history and legacy.
San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo reading a 10-minute-long resolution outlining wrongs done to the Chinese American community, with the city finally and fully saying it's sorry for past behavior.
That the Council of the City of San Jose apologizes to all Chinese immigrants and their descendants.
Apology accepted and resolution embraced. Thank you.
Kana Yu's father was a resident of one of the 5 Chinatowns that sprung up, spanning the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The last was centered on the site now of the defunct Fairmont Hotel. Each time, the city would either demolish, move, or burn the ethnic enclaves, leaving Chinese residents displaced in their adopted nation.
And although it was the sign of the times, right, it did lay the foundation of the systematic and institutional racism that our country is unfortunately still fighting today.
Experts say old animosities have recently awakened in the form of anti-Asian violence.
It's symbolically significant to the extent that it allows us to really move forward, to also let the community know that we value them, we care about them.
Attendees say the symbolism is important, but the lasting impact is making sure the city of San Jose will never again need to apologize for passing laws that wrongly target a particular race.
This impacts everybody. It impacts you, me, everybody who lives here. There's something in the roots of where you live. And if you were a newcomer, wouldn't you want to know about the struggles and how people were treated in the past?
Kana Yu says this is a story of triumph and what it takes to overcome decades-long struggle. San Jose History Park has a replica of one of the buildings from the last Chinatown. It is on display, and that sits over on Phelan Avenue. And we are live here in downtown San Jose on the site of the last Chinatown, right near Cesar Chavez Park. Jesse Gary, KTVU Fox 2 News. Andre, we'll head back to you.
It is an important and bold move by the city of San Jose. Jesse, thank you so much for that live report.
San Jose is the largest city in the nation to apologize to the Chinese community for past acts of racial discrimination.
It came after the city council unanimously passed a resolution last night. KPIX5 reporter Kit Doe has more.
So we are gathered here at the Circle of Palms in downtown San Jose, where some atrocities happened in the city 134 years ago. And today we're hearing city leaders say, we're sorry.
It's important that we know this history so that we don't repeat those mistakes.
When the wave of anti-Asian violence hit his district, council member Raul Perales went out on a listening tour.
And out of those listening sessions, one idea came forward that we had no idea that it would rise to this level of importance and interest. But it was an idea with a simple message to, number one, say I'm sorry.
It led to this city council resolution apologizing to Chinese immigrants and their descendants. 5 pages long, it's a full accounting of every act of racism, hate, and violence against the Chinese community in the city of San Jose. The most infamous being the Market Street Fire of 1887 that burned one of the country's largest Chinatowns to the ground, destroying hundreds of homes and displacing 1,400 people. The resolution passed unanimously.
Aye. Liccardo.
Aye. Thank you.
Mayor Liccardo read the resolution in its entirety to the hundreds gathered today.
That the Council of the City of San Jose apologizes to all Chinese immigrants and their descendants who came to San Jose and were victims of systemic and institutional racism, xenophobia, and discrimination.
Connie Young Yu is a direct descendant of one of the city's 5 Chinatowns that were destroyed.
On behalf of those who fought the good fight and continue to do so, I'd like to say to the city of San Jose, apology accepted and resolution embraced. Thank you.
Jerry Wong hopes the apology will lead to more ethnic studies to be taught in schools.
Why did they have an apology? What brought this on? And I'm just hoping that this is just the start of education for our young people.
San Jose State professor Hin Do says this apology is hard because it ruins the ideal image in our minds that we're a nation where all men are created equal.
So the ideal that we have is up here and the reality is somewhere down here. So this symbolically sort of forces us to really rethink about and rededicate ourselves to getting closer and closer to that ideal of we the people in order to make a more perfect union.
In San Jose, Kit Do, KPIX5.
And he said that when he was a little boy, when he left the Market Street Chinatown, he'd have to run really fast because these young toughs would be throwing rocks at him. He ran so fast, he lost his hat. And then I think of today, when elderly Asians like myself and kids are afraid to go out in the street because during the pandemic, because they would be blamed for the virus.
80-year-old Connie Yu has always called California home. She was born in Los Angeles, living together with 3 generations in one household.
I heard his stories and I loved my grandpa.
But like many Chinese immigrants in California, her family was forced to fight hate and discrimination, often at the risk of their safety. She says her grandpa, Soon Kwang Young, was a survivor of the 1887 fire in San Jose's Chinatown, which devastated many families who would carry that pain to the next generation.
The problem when people talk about Chinese, in any capacity during that time, is always nameless, faceless. These were my kinfolk that were there.
And now, over a century later, San Jose is issuing an official apology for past acts of racism against the Chinese immigrant community.
This is a resolution of the Council of the City of San Jose apologizing to Chinese immigrants and their descendants.
It's a recognition of our past mistakes. But number one, it's the acknowledgement of that past history that has been made here in the city that we're not proud of.
In a city where Asian Americans make up around 1/3 of the population, these words touch a community that cannot be separated from a deep history battling hate.
We actually in California, and in particular the Bay Area, have a very challenging history for us to cope with and deal with in terms of these racist underpinnings of the treatment of immigrants.
And could be the start to other California city apologies. In May, Antioch, a small city also in the Bay Area, issued an official apology coming on the heels of a spike in anti-Asian hate and racist rhetoric around the coronavirus.
One of the things that really bothered me was that we keep looking at these incidents of anti-Asian hate and violence and whatnot as if it's just now. There has been a historical trend in this country about mistreating Asian Americans that isn't new and isn't right. And so it's important that we contextualize what's happening today with the larger framework of who we have been as Americans and the things that we've done in the past.
Antioch first issued a proclamation condemning the rise in anti-AAPI violence, but also followed up with that official apology.
It just felt empty to have a proclamation saying that we stand in solidarity and then do nothing. And at some point, you just have to take responsibility.
But as racism persisted for so many years, some raise the question, is this apology enough? And is it overdue?
It's an important move. I think that recognition is long overdue and it's important, but I would hate for it to be merely performative in a way that it is like, oh yes, we acknowledge this, and now what?
But for you, there is no doubt this apology is a promising start for her and those who came before her.
Unless the city says they are sorry for what happened in the past, they have to acknowledge it before we can really go forward and feel, okay, this is our working together. I think he would say, this is an act of grace.
華埠縱火案正式道歉，今日喺原址上舉行紀念儀式。伍先如報導。
This is a resolution of the Council of the City of San Jose apologizing to Chinese immigrants and their descendants. for acts of fundamental injustice and discrimination, seeking forgiveness and committing to the rectification of past policies.
今日嘅正式道歉儀式喺聖路西市中心 Fairmont Hotel 旁邊嘅廣場舉行。聖路西市長 Sam Liccardo 親自宣讀道歉決議，多位華人民選官員出席。華裔歷史學家御用義方 Connie Young 於中華歷史文化協會創辦人黃瓊香等人代表接受聖路西市府嘅道歉。佢哋兩個人嘅祖父從中國嚟美國就落腳喺聖路西 Market 街上面嘅華埠。
I'd like to say to the city of San Jose, apology accepted and resolution embraced. Thank you.
So on behalf of all of you, the Chinese American community of today, I thank you with a heart still beating, it's bursting this time, but with pride of all the communities that are joining together today with all of you in the spirit of friendship and reconciliation in a world of no more anti-Asian hate. 聖路西曾經有過5個華埠，因為當時好多華裔移民喺呢度嘅農場同果園工作。第一個就喺今日儀式舉行嘅市場街，仲有 Vine 街、怡街、Woolen Mills 同埋 Helenville。因為87年被人縱火而為平地，之後聖路西就再冇重建華埠。
My grandfather, his name was Yong Guaguo, and he came at the age of 11 to the Market Street Chinatown 1 year before the Chinese exclusion law. And he was here during the fire, and he saw that it was one of the hottest, infernos in San Jose's history, and he said it was sent to chase the Chinese out.
今日御用義方嘅孫女陪佢一齊嚟參加儀式，亦都將今日嘅活動記錄落嚟。佢話聖路西華埠被燒毀，但係呢段歷史會一代一代傳落去。26台記者吳善如報導。